Hi everyone, welcome to another episode. Today on travel blog I am showing Dublin, Ireland. It is one of the beautiful place to visit. This video is not captured recently, it's on 2018, my last visit. Please have a look and let me know your feedback on comment box.
The riots were so bad in Northern Ireland, the British Army were sent in to calm things down. They were supposed to be there for 6 weeks, and
Then this golden orb that we sometimes see here in the sky in Ireland, more often than not lately, thankfully, it starts to heat the planet. The ice caps melt, and Ireland gets its first ever independence from England. Yay! Come on, yay! Yay! Okay. Sorry, English lady, it's going to be rough for a few minutes, but we love you. I love you. Yes, we then see the first people we believe arriving here about 8,000 or 9,000 years ago, and it's believed these people came from either northern France or Spain. We don't know much about them, but basically they were hunter-gatherer types, if you like. And they do leave amazing marks on the landscape of Ireland, these original Irish people. Now, the marks that these original Irish people leave are essentially burial places. And these burial places are all over the landscape of Ireland. The most common type are these things called dolmens. A lot of you will have seen a dolmen. They're two big standing stones with a big flat stone on top, okay? The other type of burial place these original people leave are these things called passage tombs. Now, there's a wonderful passage tomb to the north of Dublin called Newgrange. Now, Newgrange is quite a fascinating place. It's over 5,000 years old. It predates the pyramids of Giza. It dates to 3,200 BC. And every year, on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, as the sun rises at Newgrange, it floods this long passageway right down to the back of this burial chamber, just on the 21st of December every year. It's quite a phenomenal thing when you think about it. These original Irish people had very limited resources, and yet they were able to build this amazing structure. I actually went up to Newgrange a few weeks ago with my girlfriend, and we did the tour there. And we went right down to the back of the passage tomb, and you're down the back with about 13, 14 strangers, and they switch off the lights. And you're in complete and utter darkness. And then they recreate the winter solstice sunrise for you with an electric light. And even with an electric light, it's an incredibly moving, powerful thing to witness. So I can't imagine what it's like to be there on the actual winter solstice on the 21st of December. But to be there on the 21st is ridiculously hard. It's a lottery system. It's about as easy as getting a green card in America. So it's very, very hard. But like I say, it would be an amazing thing. So these original Irish people, just as intelligent as you or I are today. And they live relatively uninterrupted until about 1000 BC, when we have the arrival of the Gaels, or Gallic people, or Celtic people from northern France. And with them they bring their culture, they bring their music, they bring their art, and they bring their language. Gaelic, or Gaelic, or a derivative of that we have today, our national language, Irish. Now, my own Irish is utterly horrendous, okay? That's mainly because I was educated outside of Ireland. It is still taught here in schools, but not particularly well. I know how to say Gia Gwitch, which I just taught you. I also know how to say Cade Mila Folcha. Can anyone guess what that means? What? I'd say good fortune? No, but 5 points just for guessing. Very good. Guessing is the name of the game. Throw another couple of guesses at me. Anyone else?
1 beer, please.
1 beer, please. No, but 10 points just for saying that. No, you're not the first person to say give me a beer. A lot of people tend to guess give me a beer. Another man guessed the other day where's the toilet, which I quite enjoyed. But no, Cade Mila Folcha means 100,000 welcomes. So in Ireland, we're not satisfied with giving you 1 welcome. We give you 100,000 of them. So Cade Mila Folcha to each and every one of you today. So these Celtic people, they live relatively uninterrupted until about 1000 BC. We then sorry, I've mixed up myself. They lived relatively for about 1,000 years. They did have one little known entity come and visit them, the Romans. The Romans did come to Ireland. My Italian friends, where are you? Yes, very good. So you did come to Ireland, but you didn't particularly like it here. The Romans didn't particularly like it here. They called Ireland Hibernia, which means the land of eternal winter. And the Romans left Ireland alone. Typical Italians, you're still coming here and complaining about the weather. We then move up into the 400s, and we have the arrival of Patrick, or Saint Patrick, with Christianity. And once Patrick comes with Christianity, well, after those years, through the 400s, 500s, 600s, Ireland begins to experience this wonderful golden age. Lots of monasteries start popping up all over Ireland, and these monks living a lovely, peaceful existence in these monasteries. But of course, we're not going to be left alone. The rest of Europe is having a dark age after the fall of the Roman Empire. So we attract the attention of some people to the north of us. Any guesses who they might be? Yes, someone said it. Vikings, very good. Yes, the Vikings come initially on summer raids. And unlike the Romans, well, the Vikings really like Ireland. If you think about the geography, it's a great stopping off point en route to the Mediterranean. Also, the weather is balmy compared to Scandinavia, and we have lovely, rich, fertile soil. So the Vikings really love Ireland, okay? And in 841 AD, they sail 2,000 longships up the River Liffey, and they begin to pillage and plunder the land and start to establish Dublin. They then become very knitted into the fabric of Irish society. We don't particularly want the Vikings here, but as history has taught us, we're not particularly good at getting rid of our oppressors here in Ireland, so they are very much here to stay. In 1014, we topple them from their throne in a massive battle called the Battle of Clontarf, where a man called Brian Boru defeats the Vikings. They're still around, but they're less in charge. They do leave a very lasting impact on Ireland, though. A lot of people today doing these ancestry tests, and they're finding that they're coming up with a lot of Scandinavian DNA. So people are realizing today just how lasting an imprint the Vikings leave on Ireland. So we are kind of in charge from 1014, but then in 1169 we have the arrival of a whole new oppressor. Who might that be? Say again? Yes, very good. The Anglo-Normans, or the English, or Britain, yes. So the Anglo-Normans come in 1169 with a massive army and a man called Strongbow. And then we have the beginning of what you will hear any drunk Irishman talking about on any given day in any Dublin bar. Over 700 years of oppression by the British. And we try and get rid of them. God, do we try. 200 times, to be exact. So, the first time was, no, I'm joking, I'm not going to tell you about all the times we tried to get rid of the British. I'll tell you about a couple, though. It's where we get our reputation as the fighting Irish. We keep staging these rebellions and fighting and losing and fighting and losing and fighting and yes, losing. So, 1590, we have the Spanish Armada coming up towards England. We ask for the Spanish help, but something goes wrong and we lose. 1690, we back the Catholic King James II, who was fighting King William of Orange for the British crown here in Ireland in the Battle of the Boyne, but something goes wrong and we lose. 1798, inspired by both the French and American revolutions, we think we should have a republic too. We ask for the help of the French send us help, but something goes wrong and we lose. 1916, where are my German friends? Put your hand up if you're German. Yes, very good. Be proud to be German here today. Yes, very good. So, 1916. Think about the timing. 1916 is right smack bang in the middle of World War I, 1914 to 1918. So 1916, well, we think the British, well, they'll be distracted with that whole World War thing going on. We'll stage a revolution now. And we do. That year, in Easter week 1916, we have our final revolution against the British in these very streets of Dublin City. And the Germans, being in sympathy with the Irish, having been against Britain in World War I, well, they sent us this big shipment of arms called the Ode. It's filled with 1 million rounds of ammunition and 20,000 rifles. And God love the Germans. You're very punctual people, aren't you? Where are my German friends gone? There's so many people here today. Yes, very punctual people, the Germans. And so this big shipment of arms arrives into port, bang on time. But, as you will discover through my tour today, us Irish are often late. And so this big shipment of arms gets intercepted by the British Navy before we get a chance to pick it up. The captain sinks the boat intentionally and it goes down to the bottom of the Atlantic. So you can still go and see that ship today, the Ode, down at the bottom of the Atlantic. And so that, amongst other blunders, means that in 1916, we lose. 1921, what happens? No! Why would we lose again? No, minus 5 points to you. No, we win. We win our independence in 1921. In 1921, we have the signing of the Anglo-Irish Treaty in London. Now, that is a good day and a bad day for Ireland. It's a good day because we get our independence, but we get it with a lot of clauses. One of them being that Ireland is split into two. 6 counties left to the Protestant majority in the north to appease the Protestant majority in the north, 26 to the south. I'll talk about that situation more later on, okay? We're going to backtrack slightly into the 19th century. I can't go forward really any further without mentioning the famine, the Great Famine that happened here in Ireland from 1845 to 1849. That famine basically came from an over-reliance on the potato crop amongst the peasant people of Ireland, okay? And once a potato blight hit all of Europe, Ireland got terribly hit. 1 million people died in those years, and 1 million people left Ireland. 80 million people worldwide today can claim Irish heritage as largely due to that famine. Okay, a terrible, terrible time. Ireland's one of the only countries in the world that has less of a population today than it did in the 19th century. Okay, and mainly we're still recovering from that famine. So then we move back. 1922, Irish Free State declared. 1949, Irish Republic proper declared. 1973, we do a very clever thing here in Ireland. We join the EU. And then the Germans and the French, they give us loads of money for no reason. We then start to build lots of big roads here in Ireland. We start to gain a really good infrastructure here in Ireland. And then Ireland starts to begin, very, very slowly, starts to become quite an attractive place on the world stage in terms of investment, okay? We have a good infrastructure eventually through the 90s. We have an educated workforce. We're one of the only English-speaking nations in the EU, and we offer fantastic tax breaks. So, through the 90s, we see a lot of heavy investment, mainly from America, and we see the birth of this thing that became known as the Celtic Tiger. Now, that was a ridiculous time in Ireland's history. We went from being the poorest country in Europe to the 4th richest country per capita in the world in 0 time. We didn't know what to do with all the money. We'd never had so much money. We were waking up every morning and pouring champagne on our cornflakes. We were going skiing. Irish people skiing. Yes. And then, of course, 2008 happens, and we all know about 2008. It was not a uniquely Irish problem, but Ireland was the worst hit English-speaking nation in the world in the financial crisis. So it was particularly bleak here. I can't even begin to describe to you how horrible it was here after 2008. 2008, 9, 10, 11, it was utterly miserable here. I was living in London at the time. I would come home to visit my family for weekends and Christmases. I couldn't wait to get out of the place. It was horrendous. Thankfully though, in the last 5 years or so, things have shifted massively again here in Ireland. We now have a new little economic boom happening. They're calling it the Celtic Phoenix, the phoenix rising from the ashes. And really it's a huge turnaround in a very short space of time. We now have the European headquarters of Facebook, of Google, of Airbnb, of Amazon, all based down in an area that's become known as the Silicon Docks, down on the River Liffey. If you go down there today, you will see lots of cranes in the sky, a sign of a very buoyant economy. It's not perfect here. It's far from perfect here. If you open the newspaper here in Ireland today, you will see that we have a homelessness crisis. 10,000 people officially homeless here in Ireland today. So it's absolutely not perfect. But as humans, I always feel that we're quite quick to look to the negative. I truly believe we should also look to the positive. The positive being that in a very, very short space of time, Ireland's fortunes have changed massively to the point now where we are really having a new little economic boom. So we can be grateful for that. So that was roughly way more than 5 minutes, but I hope you feel a little bit more enlightened as to the history of this lovely little island that we're all standing on, and I'll fill in the gaps as we go through the tour today. So we're just going to leave Dublin Castle in a couple of minutes, but before we do, I just want to point out this wall chart over here and tell you a bit about the history. So we're going to go over this side. Follow me.
There's a light, a ceiling can light. It's never shown on me. I never leave. Yeah. There's a way. Everybody say that each and every little thing. But what good does it bring? It ain't got me. It ain't got me. Yeah, you know what it's like. Now baby, you know what it's like to love somebody, to love somebody the way I love me. When I wake, I see your face again, and I know my friend of mine. You ain't gotta be so nice, but baby, you know what it's like to love somebody, to love somebody the way I love you. You don't know what it's like. Yeah, yeah, you don't know what it's like to love somebody, to love somebody.